Welcome to Class Time English Language. You can tune in to JNN at 5 p.m. for the repeat of today's lesson. And for 24-hour learning, there's a school time channel on One Spot Media. You can also watch the lesson in real time on Television Jamaica's YouTube channel or One Spot Media. I'm Vanessa Francis. Let's begin. So today we're looking at paper 1 still, and we're looking at the vocabulary component as well. And for today we're looking at sentence completion, antonyms, and synonyms. So here are our lesson objectives. So first thing you should be able to do, of course, is to analyze given sentences. The next thing you should be able to do is select responses to vocabulary cues given in these sentences. And the last thing you should be able to do is discuss responses for each sentence. All right, so let's start. Here are the sources for all the exercises we'll be looking at today. So we have various past papers, The Observer, a comprehensive English course, and English for All, both at the CSEC level. So sentence completion, and this is what your instructions are likely to be. Each sentence that follows has either 1 or 2 words missing. Choose from the 4 best options the word or pair of words which best completes the meaning of the sentence. Here's our first one. The ability to speak grammatically and fluently is dash in both the business and social worlds. Here are your options: accomplished, reflected, assisted, and valued. Which of those best complete this sentence? The ability to speak grammatically and fluently is something in both the business and social worlds. All right, I hope you have your answer, and I hope your answer is valued. So this is something that is valued in both the business and social worlds. Let's look at our next sentence. After dash, the accused was nervous and irritable. So after something, the accused was nervous and irritable. Which of these best complete that sentence? Demonstration, scrutiny, interrogation, examination. After demonstration, after scrutiny, after interrogation, or after examination. Are you ready? Yes, you are. After interrogation, the accused was nervous and irritable. Our next sentence. I am very space by the discouraging comments. So, I am very perturbed. I am very enlightened. I am very pacified, or I am very overjoyed by the discouraging comments. Which of those conveys the right idea? Can't be overjoyed because notice it says the discouraging comments. So you have to use the sentence to guide you. Is it pacified? What does it mean to pacify? To pacify is to make something less terrible. To pacify is to calm down something or someone. Think of a pacifier, what it does for a baby. So are you pacified by the discouraging comments? Are you enlightened by them? Or are you perturbed by them? Naturally, I am very perturbed by the discouraging comments. Very good. Let's look at the next one. The confidence with which the parliamentarian responds to difficult questions creates the impression that she has been in a politician for years. But in reality, she entered politics only reluctantly, entered politics only recently, entered politics only frequently, or entered politics only needfully. Which of these 4 best completes the sentence? Yes, you are correct. She entered politics only recently. Very good. All right, let's look at the next one. Though afflicted by headaches, nausea, and respiratory ailments, Terry refused to allow his something problems to prevent him from working. So what types of problems? Imaginary problems, physical problems, emotional problems, or theoretical problems? Which of these would best fit this sentence? Now, they said he has headaches, nausea, and respiratory ailments, so they're not imaginary. Are they physical, emotional, or theoretical? Those would not fall under emotional, would they? All right, so we have physical and we have theoretical. What is a theory? Something that is abstract, correct? Are these ailments abstract? No, they're not. So your only option left is physical. Very good, physical. Let's move on to the next one. It was difficult for her to decide on a new space after she had rejected the two options. So it was difficult for her to decide on a new alternative, on a new opposition, on a new objective, or on a new alternation. Which of those fits into the sentence? Which one? Very good. Alternative. That is the one, indeed. Our next sentence now. The plan you have, space, will be scrutinized by the board members. So the plan you have stated will be scrutinized. The plan you have proposed will be scrutinized. The plan you have evolved will be scrutinized. The plan you have projected will be scrutinized. No, very interesting. Keep in mind that when you have to complete the sentence, you often will find yourself having to decide between two very viable options. Now, look here, we have stated, proposed, evolved, and projected. Looking at that list, evolved clearly should not be the one. So we won't look at evolved as an option. Now, what do we have left? Stated, proposed, and projected. Now, each of those could be used when putting a plan forward, but you're looking at the best of those three. So, do you state a plan? Yes, you can state a plan, but in this case, you're telling this plan to a group of people. So it's not that you're stating the plan. So we can cross that off the list. So now we have proposed and we have projected. Now, these are two very interesting choices. But in this scenario, the plan you have will be scrutinized by the board members. When you're putting forward a plan for someone to approve of it, what do? Yes, you are right. You propose it. So the plan you have proposed will be scrutinized. Very good. All right, so now let's move on to our next sentence. Despite his being somewhat short-tempered, his willingness to give of his wealth to help others to succeed led people to call him, so they led people to call him hasty, led people to call him foolish, led people to call him benevolent, or led people to call him old-fashioned. Now, notice it says he is somewhat short-tempered, but he is willing to give of his wealth to help others. So, would you say hasty in this regard? No. Does old-fashioned fit into it any at all? No, you're right, it doesn't. So you have between foolish and benevolent. And I'm sure some of you are leaning towards foolish because why would you be giving away your money? But no, people who give away their money for the benefit of others are not foolish. What they are is benevolent. They're very kind. So let us continue. When parents display a for one child, the others are likely to feel. So in this sentence, we have two spaces to fill. So you have to look at how each word fits in and how the pair fits in together. So now, when parents display a concern for one child, the others are likely to feel unsympathetic. Not really. All right. When parents display a dislike for one child, the others are likely to feel indifferent. Oh my, that's a terrible family, isn't it? When parents display a fondness for one child, the others are likely to feel lonely. Oh my, this one sounds like it could be a winner. But remember what we always say, you have to look at all the options. So let's look at the next one. When parents display a preference for one child, the others are likely to feel jealous. No, you have 4 options. Which of the 4 do you honestly believe fit best into the sentence? Concern and unsympathetic, dislike and indifferent, fondness and lonely, or preference and jealous? Very good. Preference and jealous. Very good. All right, so let's look at our next sentence now. So an attack on someone when that person is most vulnerable may be, but it is always. All right, so again we have a pair. So it may be inappropriate, but it is always thoughtful. Think about that one. May be rewarding, but it is always satisfying. Interesting. May be destructive, but it is always distressing. Or may be effective, but it is always unkind. Now remember, both words have to work within the sentence. So which pair best fit this sentence? Think about it now. Which of the pairs that you have in front of you could seamlessly fit into this sentence? Very good. It may be effective, but it is always unkind. I'm sure rewarding sounded like it could work, but think of the use of the word but. So if something is rewarding, you wouldn't follow that up with but and then say, but it is satisfying. It would be and it is satisfying. So you have to use the words in your sentence to help you out. All right, so now let's move on. Are you trying to? That all along he knew of the plot to oust the committee. Are you trying to? That all along he knew of the plot to oust the committee. Your options are clarify. So are you trying to clarify? Are you trying to accuse? Are you trying to identify? Are you trying to insinuate? Which of these words best captures the meaning that this sentence is trying to convey? Very good. Are you trying to insinuate? What does it mean to insinuate? It's a suggestion, but it's a certain type of suggestion. It's a negative type of suggestion, like you're accusing someone in a subtle way. So are you trying to insinuate that all along he knew of the plot? Very good. Now, next one. He, something, the invitation to the party when he remembered the examination for which he had to. So he accepted the invitation when he remembered the examination he had to invigilate. He refused the invitation when he remembered the examination for which he had to assist. He acknowledged the invitation and remembered the exam he had to research. Or he declined the invitation when he remembered the exam for which he had to prepare. Now for the first blank space, which words do you think would best fit? Based on the sentence, the best ones would have been refused and declined. However, remember, you have 2 words to consider. So look at the second blank space now. So he refused the invitation to the party when he remembered the examination for which he had to assist, or he declined the invitation to the party when he remembered the examination for which he had to prepare. Yes, you are correct. The answer is D. He declined because of the exam that he had to prepare for. Very good. Our next sentence now. Some persons although health conscious, are usually something to something diseases. Now look very carefully at what the sentence is telling you, even without the words being filled in yet. So some persons, although health conscious, so there must be some kind of contradiction that is going to come into play. So let's look at our options now. So are unusually inclined to fatal diseases, are unusually immune to incurable diseases, are unusually susceptible to infectious diseases, or are unusually indifferent to contagious diseases. What is the issue we have right here? Some persons, although health conscious, are unusually what? So they're health conscious, but what is the contradiction now? There is something about them that makes them unusually, very good, susceptible to infectious diseases. All right. Now let's continue. Parents should try to their children so that they may eventually become what? So what should parents do for the children to have a certain outcome? So is it that they should try to educate their children so that they may become self-sufficient, train their children so that they may become intelligible, pamper their children so that they may become acceptable, or discipline their children so that they may become timid? Be careful with this one. Be very careful with this one. So you have to look at the options. What is a parent supposed to do in order to bring out a certain outcome with the child? All right, so let's kick out what we can. Pamper them so that they may become acceptable. That one doesn't quite fit, so we can get rid of that. Train them so that they may become intelligible. The train part will work, but what does intelligible mean though? Right, it doesn't really mean anything good. Intelligible actually is not a good meaning, so you wouldn't train them to become intelligible. No, you have discipline them to become timid. Now, would you discipline the child to become timid? And please don't say yes. However, the best option there is to educate the child so that they may become self-sufficient. Very good. All right. Most parents do not indiscipline from their children. So another discipline question again. Interesting. So most parents do not tolerate indiscipline, do not balance indiscipline, do not frown on indiscipline, or do not supervise indiscipline. Balance does not work, so we can eliminate balance right away. Supervise doesn't really fit into this sentence, so we can eliminate that too. So now we have tolerate and we have frown on. And notice you have two different meanings coming out if you use either one. So most parents do not tolerate indiscipline. Most parents do not frown on indiscipline. Now, if you're going to choose frown on, I would need to really wonder about what you think about most parents, the average parent. Think about the majority. So that would not be it. So it would be most parents do not tolerate indiscipline. Very good. All right, let's look at the next one quickly. The journalists were impressed by the statesman whose speeches had a profound on all who heard them. So the journalists were impressed by the appearance of the statesman whose speeches had a profound reaction, or they were impressed by the presence whose speeches had a profound result, or they were impressed by the emotion of the statesman whose speeches had a profound sensation, or they were impressed by the eloquence of the statesman whose speeches had a profound effect. Think carefully. What would have been impressive and what would have happened as a result? A profound what? So, yes, they were impressed by his eloquence and the speeches had a profound effect. So it's time for our usual break. Stay with us. Class time continues after this. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is class time CSEC English language. So let's continue. So before the break, we were looking at paper 1 and we were looking at the sentence completion items. Now we're going to another type of vocabulary item, which is the antonyms. And this one you need to be very careful, and we'll say why in more details as we go through. So here is what your instruction might look like. For each underlined word in the following sentences, select the word which is opposite in meaning from the options given. Now, why you need to be careful is because what will happen many times, you're going to see not just the antonym of the word, you're going to also see the synonym of the word. And if you don't keep reminding yourself, because it happens to the best of us, if you don't keep reminding yourself, you might just select the synonym instead of the antonym. Remember, the antonym means opposite. So here we go. So the plan made by the boys was feasible, and your underlined word is feasible. So which of those options is the opposite, not the same as feasible. So is it realistic? Is it impractical? Is it profitable or is it interesting? Remember, you're looking for the opposite of feasible. What does it mean to be feasible? Something that is feasible is something that is actually realistic. So we know realistic is not the one. Therefore, if it is not realistic, what is it? Very good. It is impractical. We cannot use it because it is impractical. All right, let's look at our next one. There is much certainty in his decision to leave us. Certainty. So we're looking for the word that is the opposite of that. So is the opposite doubt, uneasiness, happiness, or decisiveness? When you are certain, you are sure of something. You are decisive about it. So we know already decisiveness is not it. What is the opposite of that? Very good. Doubt. So you have doubt. There is much doubt in his decision. All right. If we abolish corporal punishment, there will be great resistance. Abolish. What does it mean to abolish? And therefore we're looking for the word that is opposite of that. So abolish, does it mean one thing? And therefore the opposite might be abort, condemn, retain, or tolerate. So think of what it means to abolish and then naturally think of what it means to be the opposite of that. So when you abolish something, what do? You get rid of it. So if you don't get rid of something, what do? Very good. You retain it. Nice. All right. So let's look at our next sentence. After his hostile comments, we knew what to do. And we're looking at hostile. So think about what it means to be hostile. And therefore, which of these is the opposite of that? Strong, kind, rough, or interesting. The opposite of hostile. When you're hostile, what are you? You're mean, basically. You're belligerent. Somewhat rough, I suppose. And therefore, if you're not those things, then you are very good. You are kind. Wonderful. All right. So our next sentence now. The manager decided to inform the staff about all complaints received from customers. We're focusing on complaints. What does it mean to complain? Think about that. Therefore, if you're not complaining, what are you doing? So if he didn't receive complaints, did he receive demands? Did he receive requests? Did he receive suggestions? Or did he receive compliments? What does it mean to complain? When you complain, you say something bad about something. You make negative comments about something. Therefore, if you're not making negative comments, what are you doing? Very good. You're giving compliments. Wonderful. All right, let's move on. The article on drugs absorbed the teenagers. We saw this word in a previous lesson, didn't we? Yes, we did. Absorbed. Now, think about what it means in this context to be absorbed. And therefore, let's think about what the opposite is going to be. So is the opposite engrossed, defied, bored, or puzzled? Now remember I said earlier, the meaning sometimes, many times, is in the list as well. So think about what it means to be absorbed by something in this context. Yes, it means to be engrossed by it. You're very interested in it. So if you're not very interested in something, then what are you? Very good. You are bored. Very good. Let's move on to the next one. We have realized that your contribution is significant. And we're looking at significant. So think about what it means when something is significant, and therefore flip the script. So is the opposite of significant valid, trivial, unprofitable, or disappointing? Something that is significant is something that is important. So if it is not important, what is it? Valid is somewhat important. Unprofitable has nothing really to do with importance. So too disappointing. So therefore, the only possible answer is trivial, of course. All right, let's look at our other sentence now. She paid meticulous attention to the work as she attached the beads on the costume. T has gone missing somewhere there. My apologies. Now, our word is meticulous. What does it mean to be meticulous? Think about that. Or, better yet, look it up if you have your dictionary nearby. Therefore, now that we have an understanding what meticulous means, what is the opposite of that? Scant, careful, detailed, or cautious. Now, the word that would mean the same as meticulous is in the list. It's detailed. When you're meticulous, you are very cautious to an effect as well. You pay attention to details. You're very detail-oriented. So if you're not very focused and very detailed, then what kind of attention will you pay? Careful attention? No, because that also would come into it being meticulous. So careful, detailed, and cautious all relate in some way to meticulous. So the only word you have left, even if you didn't know what it meant, is scant. So sometimes this is what you have to do. If there's a word that you don't know the meaning of, try and use the others to help you. So the opposite of meticulous in this regard is scant. Let's move on. So our next sentence says, we found her appreciative of the assistance that we had given her on this matter. So we're looking for the same meaning of a phrase now, not just a single word. So appreciative of. What does it mean to be appreciative of something? And therefore, think of what it means to not be appreciative of something. So would it be intolerant of, displeased at, ungrateful for, or unhappy about? So when you're very appreciative, you're thankful, aren't you? Right, you're thankful for something. So if you're not thankful, what are you? Intolerant? No. Displeased? Perhaps. Unhappy? Perhaps. But you are definitely ungrateful. All right, so the opposite of appreciative would be ungrateful, and none of you are guilty of that, I'm quite sure. Our next sentence. As a result of the need for trained staff, the firm had to dismiss several workers, and our focus word is dismiss. So think of what it means to dismiss. And if you're not going to dismiss people, what are you going to do? Deport, employ, promote, or transport. Now right away, we have a word that has nothing to do with this sentence at all, and that is transport. Good, so we can eliminate that right off the bat. So the opposite of dismiss, deport. What does it mean to deport again? So, would it be the opposite of dismiss? No, perhaps even part of the dismissal would involve deportation. We don't know. So we can get rid of deport as well. So we have employ and we have promote left. Now when you promote, what do? You give someone an elevated rank or additional responsibilities or additional status. So is that the opposite of dismissing? No, it would be the opposite of demote, wouldn't it? Very good. So of course, if you don't dismiss someone in this regard, you employ them. So keep the context in mind. Dismiss here means to terminate their employment. So if you're not terminating employment, then you are employing. Very good. Our next sentence now. The headgear worn by the factory worker is made from artificial material. And we're focusing on artificial. What is the opposite of artificial? So is it natural? Is it synthetic? Is it man-made? Or is it prefabricated? Now be very careful. You should notice something about these options. Look at the options carefully. One of these things is not like the others. One of these things just isn't the same. Three of these options mean the same thing. So you can almost safely say those three cannot be the answer. What are those three things? Very good. Synthetic, man-made, and prefabricated. They're basically synonyms of each other and also synonyms of artificial. So your answer has to be then natural. Very good. So in this case, you got some help because the other words almost closely relate to each other. So you could see the one that was different. All right, let's look at our next sentence now. The lack of transparency from our government agencies has become a seemingly ubiquitous part of our national culture. My word, have you ever seen that word before? Ubiquitous. If you read the newspapers, you might come across it sometimes. And if you watch certain programs, you might hear it sometimes. But what if that is not the case? Now you will have a problem. So think about it carefully, or better yet, if you have your dictionary, find it quick, while we look at the options now. So is the opposite of ubiquitous omnipresent? Is the opposite expansive? Is the opposite rare? Or is the opposite pervasive? Now, if you look at the options, just like the other one a while ago, you will see that three of these options are very closely related. However, it will take you knowing what these words mean. So omnipresent, those of you who go to church a lot would have heard omnipresent, meaning present everywhere. And if you do literature, you would have heard that too. So omnipresent means it's found everywhere. Expansive, not the same as omnipresent, but it conveys the same idea. So it's wide, far-reaching, it's wide. Pervasive also conveys the same meaning as omnipresent and expansive. So it doesn't mean the same thing, mind you. They don't have the same meaning, but they do convey the same concept. The same concept is present in all of these. Therefore, the one word that is different from those three meaning-wise would be rare. So ubiquitous actually is something that is omnipresent or something that is pervasive. It's something that you can find everywhere. So the opposite of that would be something that is rare. Very good. And I hope you're making note of these words. If you've not seen them before, or if you've seen them but you didn't quite pay attention to them, please note them. You don't want to come upon them again at the wrong time and still not know what they mean. All right, so our next sentence now. A television team in attendance was also seeking out suitably zany people with whom to film interviews. Zany people. So think about what it means when you use the term zany. You might not have heard it very often, but you might have heard it once or twice. So let's look at our options now. Eccentric, comical, serious, unconventional. Now, look closely at your options. Do you notice something again? Three of them convey similar meanings. So you can almost safely assume that those three can't be the answer. What are those three? Think about it. Eccentric, comical, serious, unconventional. Now we all know the meaning of the word serious. So all you have to do, even if you don't know which three it is, does serious match with any of the others on the board there? Serious and unconventional? No. Serious and comical? Certainly not. Serious and eccentric? Not at all. So the one word that sticks out more than the others is serious. So the opposite of zany would be serious. Very good. Now our next sentence. Each successive move against the Rastafarians by the Commission appeared to have provoked an equally fervent response. Fervent, not fervent. Fervent. Think about that carefully now. What does it mean to be fervent? And if you don't know the meaning, look it up while we're looking at the options. So the options are passionate, sincere, indifferent, distant. No, we don't have that much help here because you don't have 3 words on one side and 3 on the other side. Actually, we have 2 on one side and 2 on the other side. So you do have to have an idea of what it means to be fervent. Now, when you're fervent, you care deeply about something and you show this care. So it's something that means quite a lot to you. So which word up there means the same as that? Passionate. Very good. So fervent and passionate are actually synonyms of each other. So we can take passionate out of the equation. But we need to use passionate now. If you're not passionate about something, you don't have deep, great feeling for something, then what are you? Think carefully. Are you sincere? No, because sincere goes with being passionate. Are you distant? Perhaps. Perhaps. But isn't the better choice indifferent? So the total opposite of you feeling deeply for something is you feeling nothing at all, being indifferent. Very good. All right, so our next one. 3 haughty grade 10 girls with pocket mirrors gossiped as they applied their makeup. So 3 haughty. We're looking at the word haughty, not hearty, haughty. So what does it mean to be haughty? Think about that. And if you haven't heard the word before, make note of it because it's a word you can use in your writing. So they're haughty girls. So is the opposite of that humble, modest, snobbish, or again, indifferent. So we saw indifferent a while ago. So we know that it means lacking any emotions towards something. So that's fine. We can't use that. It doesn't mean the opposite of haughty. Now, when someone is haughty, they're basically very arrogant or they're very snobbish. So we can take out 2 right away, indifferent and snobbish. So what is the opposite of being arrogant though? Is it modest or is it humble? Think very carefully. Modesty is one type of concept and humility is another. What would be the opposite of arrogance? Not modesty, no. It would be humility. So the word here that captures humility is humble. Very good. Okay, so let's pause right here. We'll be back after these short messages. Welcome back to class time. So let's pick up where we left off. So we're looking at vocabulary on paper 1. So far we have looked at sentence completion and we have looked at antonyms. So of course now we're going to move into the synonyms portion, which is a little easier sometimes because you don't have to remember, oh, I'm looking for the opposite. So here is what your instruction might look like. From the list of alternatives, select the word that is nearest in meaning to the underlined word in each sentence. So remember now, we're not looking for the opposite again. We are looking for the synonym. We're looking for the same name. Our first sentence. In offering a repudiation of the previous administration, James also promised a new era of transparency. Now, again, students, this is where extensive reading comes in handy. However, as you're not in the exam right now, ensure that you're using your dictionaries to help you because you need to be familiar with these words just in case. You never know. So, repudiation. What do you think it means? Sanction, emphasis, rejection, or retainer. Think about it carefully. Look at the sentence. In offering a repudiation of the previous administration, James also promised a new era of transparency. So there's a previous administration and there's a new era of transparency, meaning there was none before. That's the meaning you can get. So if there is none before, and this person is repudiating the previous one, then what is he doing? All right, sounds like you know it. Very good. Offering a rejection. So when you repudiate something, you reject it. You have nothing to do with it. Very good. Our next sentence now. In his address to the police academy graduates, the speaker reminded the assembly that people who seek peace abhor violence. Please notice how the word is pronounced. Violence. Yes. So abhor is our target word. What does it mean to abhor? Look at the sentence again. So somebody is addressing police academy graduates. And notice it says, the speaker reminds the assembly that people who seek peace. So someone who seeks peace will have nothing to do with violence, correct? So which of those words means something about like rejecting it or not having anything to do with violence? So we're looking for the synonym of abhor. And your options: detest, relish, tolerate, or regret. Okay, would tolerate work? People who seek peace tolerate violence. No, not quite. People who seek peace relish violence. Most certainly not. When you relish something, it's something you love, it's something you enjoy. So someone who is seeking peace is not going to enjoy violence, are they? So let's look again. You have regret and you have detest. All right, so someone who seeks peace might regret violence, yes. But at the same time, look carefully now. People who seek peace detest violence. Yes, they detest violence. If you are someone who wants to be peaceful and you're seeking peace, then of course you're going to turn away from any form of violence and you're going to not support it. When you detest something, you do not like it, you dislike it deeply. So people who seek peace greatly dislike violence. Very good. Our next sentence. It was impossible to rectify the error made since inaccurate information had been given. And we're targeting rectify. What does it mean? Look at the sentence. It was impossible to rectify the error. So what do you normally do with an error? That should tell you what rectify means. And then you get some more information. Since inaccurate information had been given. So what are you trying to do to this error? You're trying to alter it? trying to erase it, trying to correct it, or trying to determine it. Which of those words definitely is not the right one? Determine, right? It has nothing to do with anything in the sentence. So leave that one alone. So we have alter, erase, and correct. It was impossible to rectify the error since inaccurate information had been given. Erase the error. Does that what rectify means? Correct the error or alter the error? Now, if you look closely, you'll notice that alter and correct are somewhat similar. They have the same concept guiding them. So let's look at those two. Impossible to alter the error or impossible to correct the error. To alter means to change somewhat, yes. But what is a better option? Yes, indeed, the better option is correct. When you try to rectify something, you try to fix it, you try to correct it. To alter just means to change. So it wouldn't necessarily correct it, you're just trying to change it. So keep that in mind. After it rained heavily all night, dense fog enshrouded the town. Consequently, the motorists were unable to see their immediate surroundings clearly. We're looking at enshrouded. Now, this one is going to be controversial, I can tell you. So, does enshrouded mean exposed, obscured, covered, buried? All right, so right off the bat, what can we leave out? We can leave out exposed because if you think of a fog is not going to expose anything, is it? So expose is not one of the options. Leave it alone. Buried. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But no, not buried either. So we can leave out exposed, we can leave out buried. Now we're coming down to the nitty-gritty. Obscured or covered. So the dense fog enshrouded the town. Did it obscure the town or did it cover the town? You tell me, which one is it? Very good. It covered the town. When you think of a shroud is a piece of fabric that is used to cover something. So when you enshroud, that's what you're basically doing. You're covering something, you're cloaking it. So if you had seen the word cloaked, that would mean the same thing as well. So you're thinking of a covering. Very good. Our next one. Robin Durcham never opened her eyes, and she clung to Christian's right arm with such a tenacious grip, he thought he'd be permanently scarred. We're looking at the word tenacious. Look at what the sentence is giving you. She never opened her eyes. She clung to his arm. So she's holding on very tightly. So which of those words captures the idea of holding on to something very tightly? Resolute, unreliable, possessive, or yielding? Right off the bat, we know it can't be unreliable. Unreliable does not even fit into the context. Yielding also doesn't fit into the context. So we have resolute and we have possessive. Possessive is looking mighty good, but something that is tenacious, something that is unyielding is something that is resolute. Very good. Excellent work. And that is all the time we have for today. Until next time, wash your hands, wear your mask, sanitize, and of course, keep your distance.
Hi there, I'm Simon Preston from TVJ. Thank you very much for watching our YouTube channel. To see our latest videos and also to see live events, click here. To see our full videos on onespotmedia.com, click here. Thank you very much for watching.